Right, we've heard that we're learning about the church gives. We're talking about treasure, and we've just seen that video about a poor widow who gave all that she had to God. So the question in that story is, why did she do that? Why did that lady go and give her 2 small coins, all that she had? Well, she did that because God was her treasure. She loved God the most. The Bible tells us lots about giving and being generous, and I think we'll agree that that woman gave lots. Jesus said she gave everything, and it was because she loved God. He was her treasure. Well, listen, let's go back to the things that were in my treasure box. Do you remember? Do you remember the beautiful bowl that I brought out? Now, I put this somewhere where everybody can see it because I love it so much. A bit like your toys that you brought back. You hold them up to the screen because you want everybody to see, because you love them. Now, this bowl used to sit on a worktop below a cupboard. And one day, something pretty sad happened. I opened the cupboard and a little spice jar fell out and hit my precious bowl. Now, you can't see there, but there is a massive crack all the way down my precious bowl. And you might be able to see here, there's a bit missing. So my bowl that I love so much was broken. It was ruined. It's so special, but it was broken by a little spice jar. And I was so sad. Well, what about actually my cross necklace that you see here? Again, something really special. It was bought for me when I was a baby. But you know what? This necklace here, that's not the original necklace, because the original one, well, it broke. And that's why I don't wear it anymore, because I'm scared that it might get broken or lost. What about my phone? Phones are really easy to break. I bet you know somebody who's broken a phone. This is a message from my sister-in-law just this week. She sent me a message. She said, "Sorry for the lack of reply. I dropped my phone down the toilet and I had a flashing green screen for 3 days." Oh, disgusting, eh? And you know what? My phone, I have had my phone, not this one, but a different one, stolen out of my hand as I was walking down the street. Somebody came from behind me and took it from out of my hand. And even worse, I tried to chase after the person who took it and I fell flat on my face. What a bad day, hey? Well, what about my other thing? Hockey stick. There hasn't been much hockey this year. So all of these things that I treasure, all of these things that I love, they get broken or lost or stolen, or they just don't happen. But you know what? There's one more thing in my treasure box. Hold on. There is a heart. Is this my heart? I hope not. Why is this heart in a treasure box? Well, you see, it says something on the back here. And it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It was Jesus who said those words. He was teaching people about how to live in God's kingdom with God as their king. And he said something else. Have a look on the screen just before he said that. He said, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal." So Jesus said, don't store up all those things that you love on this earth because they break, like my glass bowl, or they're stolen from you, like my phone. What about the thing that you're holding now, that treasure that I asked you to go and get it, a thing that you love the most? Is there a bit of it a bit broken or a bit dirty? Can you think of another toy that you used to love so much that was broken or lost? I bet you can. Jesus says, don't store up these things, this treasure on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. No, Jesus said, instead, like the woman in the video, treasure God, love God. Have a look again. This is what he goes on to say. He said, do not store up treasures on earth, but then he said, instead, store up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Well, that makes sense of my little heart message, doesn't it? Where my treasure is, my heart will be also. If I treasure, love the things that I have, my money, my toys, my stuff, I love them the most. And if I treasure God, I love him the most. So Jesus is saying, don't love these things on earth that you have the most. Love God the most. Love him and his kingdom the most. Have him as your greatest treasure by trusting Jesus. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Do you know what? When we love God as our greatest treasure, we become more and more happy to give things away because they aren't our treasure. So that's why the poor woman in the video, she was able to give everything that she had because they weren't her treasure. God was her treasure. She loved him the most. So when I asked you earlier, do you remember I asked you, could you give that precious treasure, your special thing that you're holding, could you give it away? That thing that is so important to you. I think we can ask God to help us to say yes, because he is our greatest treasure, not these things that we have, because we love him the most, because he sent Jesus to save us. So we can ask God to help us to not want lots of money and things and toys and keep them, but we can be generous and give. And that's what the church does. The church gives because the church loves God the most. But here's something really important. This doesn't mean that you have to gather all your things together and go and give them all away. No, it's wonderful to have nice toys that people have given to us. That's a great thing. But can we give them and share them and not treasure them the most, but instead treasure God the most, who has given us everything through Jesus? So the church gives because God is our greatest treasure. And you know what? Being people who give shows that we love God. And being people who give shows that we love other people. And being people who give reminds us that Jesus gave everything to save us. And that's why the Bible tells us to give, to love God. So let's sing now. We're going to sing a song we've not sung before, but it sings the verses that we have just looked at about treasure. So you can join in the singing and do the actions as well.